general terror is how I approach most of my scripts.
Denial.
How am I going to do this? I have no idea, and then you just do it. And I don't know. I loved all the women in this, but I really immediately felt kind of drawn to Marieke, and in a way, I guess I wanted to understand that woman and not kind of judge that woman, and there's so much internalized pain from decades of an inherited kind of violence and education, and how you go about kind of unlearning all the things that you've learned about yourself so that you can kind of allow or dream about another version of yourself. So yeah.
Yeah, I felt like all the women are obviously very distinct, but it's sort of weird because it's like an allegory of like a bigger conversation. Like they are all individuals, but it's all part of one conversation that they're all having, and they all have a stance in it, but they're all invested in the conversation and where it's going. And so with Salome, I felt like I completely, from her perspective, I was totally on board with her as a person and her approach to life and how she expressed herself. I really admired and all those things. But it's like Jessie said, like I really identified with there was not a single woman in that room who I didn't have some sort of weird affinity with, in the sense that I understood all those women. I appreciated them, and I knew them in my life. Like I'd seen them, and I had conversations with them and knew them. So I felt very attached to every single character, and I think that's what you feel like. I hope people feel like when they watch it, is that you do become very attached to them as a group and who they are, and all their different, idiosyncrasies and characters.
We must consider this.
No, that is not our responsibility, because we aren't in charge of whether or not they are punished.
Yeah, it's great having a book. Do you feel that? Like I always feel having a book
God.
is really useful.
Yeah, whenever you go off piste, you kind of can always go back to the book.
Yeah, but I think we slightly, the book was obviously written by Miriam Taves, who was a Mennonite herself. And so I felt like it was implicit in the book that it was authentic.
Am I misremembering this? But didn't they make like a website? Did they make a like communal kind of research thing where there was like pictures and
I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember being able to get it. Was there a book? Like a actual...
Yeah, I can't remember anyway.
We obviously did a lot of research.
We grew our leg hair.
Really,
and I had fake boobs.
There you go. It begins and ends in those two places. Yeah. There you go.
How you embody them. No, that's great. Thank you. And you've kind of touched on this already, but did you both feel that you related to these women? I think even though their lives are so vastly different from kind of our day-to-day lives, I think, like you say, you can see ourselves in all of them in some way. So how did you kind of relate to your characters and then the other women that are in the film?
I don't think they're that different from our lives. They probably have a more concentrated relationship to faith, or a particular kind of relationship to God. But, we all live with like a kind of some sort of faith in whatever that form takes in our lives. And yeah, I related a lot to them. They didn't feel foreign. Like what felt foreign was that this story was actually being told. And what was kind of so exciting about it was actually being able to talk these things out loud for the first time, when actually we've had them all privately in our minds and even communally. Like you never have an opportunity to have a conversation like this with a group of women, and to actually take agency in deciding our faiths and our faith and what actually we hope for in our lives together, outside of the kind of helm of being in a kind of patriarchal society. So yeah, that was what was a foreign, exciting prospect. But actually the women, I know all of those women, and I know I could touch everything that each woman says in that room. I've definitely thought at certain points in my life.
But I feel like that's the thing, is I feel like it's interesting, the concept that this isn't more real than the world we live in. I think that a lot of people who move through the world, not just women, but this is their reality. And I think the more we address that, the less we keep that some sort of fringe aspect of society, the more healthy society hopefully will be. Because I think that the most common experiences and the things that people go through in their lives are what these women are experiencing. It's been put out there and they're talking about it.
We know that we are bruised and infected and pregnant and terrified and insane, and some of us are dead.